If you've ever stumbled through a social media site around Valentine's, you know women love to show off what their boyfriend or husband surprised them with. So this should be the one who wins Valentine's with 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order early, you can get 18 pink and red enchanted roses for only $29.99. Valentine's Day is almost here, so don't put it off. Get 18 pink and red enchanted roses for only $29.99 from 1-800-Flowers. This gorgeous bouquet of radiant pink and red roses is the perfect Valentine's surprise she's guaranteed to love. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 18 red and pink enchanted roses for only $29.99 is a great reward for ordering early. This Valentine's, don't settle for anything less than 1-800-Flowers.com. To order 18 red and pink enchanted roses for only $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. Again, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
It's Golick and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey. And Mike, I will admit, every time I sit in with the band ever, they pull this song out. I don't really know it. Like, I didn't, as you have sort of talked about, like, I grew up on classical music.
Right.
So there are huge holes in my repertoire of old country. So a lot of the like Alabama sort of stuff,
you don't know.
I never listened to it. It was not my thing growing up. So, and when I first started playing fiddle, I actually took old rock records and dissected them.
Really?
So I would take like guitar solos and figure out how to play a guitar solo on a fiddle. That was my whole approach. So learning like, Orange Blossom Special and stuff like that. Like, I could sort of fake those things, but I don't really know. And my whole thing was like, there's a little 12-year-old somewhere that plays Orange Blossom Special better than I ever will.
Isn't it amazing?
So why compete with that?
So again, what we're going to do, this can be fun. Now I'm going to put Jason on the spot a little bit as well. I had him bring his fiddle in, and it's been sitting over here. And I said, you can't play anything just yet. So I said, Jason Fitz, for those that may not know, he toured for years with the band Perry. And so, and it's transitioned over. You wanted to transition into sports talk. You enjoyed your time on the road touring, and now you wanted to make the move into sports talk. That's how you made that transition, correct?
Yeah.
So, but it's incredible. He was at Juilliard at 10 years old, playing classical violin. So, I mean, as you mentioned, been practicing 8 hours a day since you were 8 years old, led to the career that you had. So, what I'm putting him on the spot here. Tomorrow we're gonna have him play, because I always thought a fiddler had to know Devil Went Down to Georgia like a guitar player has to know Stairway to Heaven. He's gonna do that tomorrow, and me and Mike are gonna sing along to Devil Went Down to Georgia. But what we want to do now is I want to have him reenact something. I want to have him reenact the theme to this show.
Okay.
So. That's with a trombone, I believe, is what was used to do this. So that's a trombone. So now you just heard that. Now I need you to recreate it on the fiddle. Putting you on the spot.
I got that.
You go ahead.
Right? I was right?
Yeah, that was good. Play ours again. Oh. That is so cool.
Yeah, there we go.
So if I just ask you the hit Band Perry,
If I Die Young was probably the most was the most famous song we ever did.
Without a doubt.
That had a big fiddle solo in it. And
so you can just rattle that off.
Yeah.
I tell you, it makes
I haven't played that since August 27th of last year, but yeah,
really,
that's fine, yeah.
That is so.
August 27th of 2016 was the last
2 years.
time.
So almost. That's incredible to me. It makes, when you're growing up, and almost everybody, a lot of people play an instrument when you're young and you're doing everything in the world, and then as you start doing more, some things go by the wayside. Obviously, this stayed with you. Well, I know I did play the piano growing up. Mike played the saxophone growing up, and all our kids.
I always wanted to learn the saxophone.
And
so cool.
It's one of those things now where you hear you do that, and you're like, my God, I wish I would have stayed with it. Because as I have said, and I've gotten to meet a lot of entertainers now, is athletes, we all wanted to be entertainers. Always wanted to be entertainers. And I was so happy the one time I won a wager with Darius Rucker with South Carolina women, Notre Dame women in basketball. I won that bet and I got to sing Take It Easy by the Eagles at one of his concerts. It was one of the great moments in my life that I needed a little bit of liquid courage for, but it worked out okay. And entertainers always wanted to be athletes. So it was like they wanted to switch roles at times.
You going to sing a little Take It Easy for us?
Oh, listen, I had a ball doing that. I'll sing.
No, I mean, now do you want to sing a little?
But I was running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind. 4 that want to own me, 2 that want to steal me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy. See that?
That was good. That was good.
All right.
So one of these days I'll just bring in a guitar and I'll just
do that.
accompany
Or
you.
Tomorrow you can play Devil Went Down to Georgia and I'll sing that.
Yeah. All right. We're going to make all of this.
Why not? Why not?
By the way, I will say, yes, most of it I can pick up and do again. The most difficult solo I ever played was on a song called Done, which was one of our singles. And we did for the ACM Awards that year out in Vegas, the Academy of Country Music Awards. We got in a straight line and we jumped up and down during the fiddle solo. Most difficult thing I ever had to do as far as musically.
Jump up and down and play.
Jump up and down while playing. So if shameless plug, if you just look up the Band Perry Dunn ACMs on YouTube, it's out there. You can see me jumping up and down while I play in front of 15 million people. That was very nerve-wracking.
So, ballpark, how many concerts, how many times you been on stage? Ballpark.
I couldn't even. I mean, our busiest year, we were gone 300 days and did 225 shows in a year.
So hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Okay, so I go on a football field and play thousands of plays, and obviously no one ever plays the perfect game. So I make mistakes, get yelled at, and all that. Worst blunder do you have one on stage playing in a song?
I've had so many of them. In fact, when I was
but somewhere people would, maybe someone in the band would notice, but people would actually notice.
When I was a little kid, I played a classical concerto off by a whole step the entire way. I played the whole thing off by a whole step, which is very difficult to do.
Off by a step.
So that means like if you were it would be like you playing Take It Easy and me playing Take It Easy on top of you in the wrong key.
In the wrong key. Okay.
So I did that as a little kid, but there were several times. I've had incident. I mean, on stage it just happens, especially because I had control of our computer system too that has like clicks in your ears that gives you like when you see a band on stage, they're all wearing in-ear monitors.
Yeah.
And somebody presses the button and in everybody's ears you hear 1, 2, 3, 4.
Really?
And then you hear this the whole time. And that's what keeps everybody together. There's a click. I cannot tell you how many times. So I would have a thing that had on every show I'd have to hit 25, 26 clicks. I cannot tell you how many times I'd hit the wrong one. And so then we're all starting a song at the complete wrong tempo. And I'm like, stop, no!
Really?
Yeah. So,
that's what's in the ears. So I always wondered that because I asked Darius if I could have a thing and he said, no, you can't. So was he trying to hang me out? He was trying to hang me out to dry, wasn't he?
Probably.
Well, he was just trying to hang me out to dry.
There's a guy on the side of the stage that just mixes what's in your ears. So I could say, okay, I want a ton of that click. I always wanted that because I don't like to play in time.
Right.
And then I wanted a certain amount of my instruments and then a ton of Kimberly, our lead singer, because my main job as the band leader was to follow her. So if she skips a verse, I've got to know she skipped a verse. I've got to step on a microphone to notify everybody we just skipped a verse. So I had to have a ton of her. So if you had listened on my ear pack, for example, it wouldn't sound anything like a concert. So that may be why Darius didn't want to give you.
Oh, he did it to
probably
throw me off. I don't think there's any doubt. That's really interesting. Good job by that playing.
No, thanks.
Not like I didn't think you could do it.
This hour, Golic and Wingo brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win at business. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey. And we'll do more of that.
Absolutely. I think that's so cool.
More of that fun stuff coming up as we get through.
Let's do one what's trending. We got to get one what's trending. It's got to be Olympics,
we'll
right?
Get into we should, yeah.
Pyeongchang. That's going to be our sounder every time we do an Olympic update.
You know what? I'm just going to come in and haunt you by pressing that whenever I possibly can. Yeah. Loser Aaron Hamlin will carry the U.S. flag at the opening ceremony in the
Pyeongchang
Olympics starting tomorrow.
I think this is awesome. It's her 4th Olympics. And as she said, we've grown up watching the Olympics and we're always like, who's going to be carrying the flag? And to actually be that person is insane. Again, 4-time Olympian. She won a bronze in the 2014 Olympics. This is her last Olympics. She's retiring after this. So congrats to her. What an incredible moment. listen, anybody who's listened to this show for any amount of time knows I'm crazy about the Olympics, and I would take that. I played football all my life, and the goal was the Super Bowl. I would take an Olympic gold medal over that. I mean, to represent your country in the Olympics and medal or win a gold, or just represent your country, but to be to the highest heights of winning a gold, I can't imagine anything more cool than that. And then to carry the flag in the ceremony has got to be just awesome for her.
So this is going to be a terrible humble brag, and I'm sorry, but we had the chance to play the Today Show at the 2016 Olympics. So we went over to Rio.
Of course you did.
And I know. And we got to have a lot of opportunity to hang out with some of the Summer Olympic athletes at the USA House. And they have like a big house where they put everybody up. And the camaraderie between all of them is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So to know
all the athletes,
right? Between the athletes,
not just American, but all the athletes,
all the
right?
athletes.
Yeah.
And then to know that you're carrying the flag and what that means to the entire room of people that all have been working their butts off to get there. It's a very, very special thing. I think I was always a mega Olympics fan.
Yeah.
After I went, I walked away from it saying it's an experience. Everybody, like when LA gets the Olympics,
right?
You just start saving now and trying to figure out a way to go out there because it is worth the experience just to see the national pride. We went to events most people don't even care about.
Well, exactly.
And to see the national pride people have in winning a bronze in synchronized diving was just surreal.
Because that's my thought. I mean, even though it's an event you may not have watched or you may think, I don't want to watch that, the amount of effort that those athletes put into it, that's why they all appreciate one another, because they all know the sacrifice that they put in to it, whether, it's the biathlon or it's synchronized diving or it's the luge or downhill skiing or wrestling or whatever it is. I'm mixing, obviously, Summer and Winter Olympics, but just the sacrifice that they put in to get there, you just can't do nothing but appreciate that.
Well, and we will, by the way, be sure to go live to
Pyeongchang
tomorrow in advance of the opening ceremony. It's great. I don't even have to say Pyeongchang.
It's great
because you've got it there for me. But now from the Olympics, we go to the parade. This could be dangerous. We've been getting updates as it goes. Earlier, it was headed towards the Art Museum. Cliff, our board op was going to be at the Art Museum, and we thought that was all bougie and classy. Now we find out that he's at City Hall in Philly. I don't know where this thing went wrong. Cliff, how are we, Cliff? Cliff, we got you.
Cliff, how you doing? Cliff, you hear us?
I don't even know what they're saying at this point.
They're saying free Meek. Wow, they have to be so
drunk
into the dilly-dilly right now. Oh, yeah, without question. Remember, this is Bud Light said, because Lane Johnson said he'd buy beer for everybody in Philly. Bud Light said at certain taverns along the route, they're giving out free beer. It sounds like Cliff, since he can't even hear what we're saying anymore, that he and his group. And remember, one of the people in his group, to get off of work today, couldn't just not go to work, broke his own fingers. Broke his own fingers to get a doctor's note that said he had to miss work so he could go to the parade.
That is a level of, the amount of alcohol being consumed right now. Like I always say, there's a line between drunk and D-runk. Like we went too far. We're D-runk.
We're there now. We're there.
I was worried about subs at 6:30 in the morning. Subs and dilly dilly at 6:30 in the morning has led to City Hall.
We're way past that.
So I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
We need to break out of this somehow, some way.
Yeah, Cliff is obviously a disaster. So let's just go with this.
It's time for another edition of Love It or Shove It.
That didn't go well.
With Golic and Wingo.
Bubba coming in to save the show.
Yeah, I mean, we try and count on this guy, and he just can't do anything for us.
But the de-evolution of Cliff, though, through this was the third hit today.
From a very modest, meek, and
it's gotten a lot worse.
Cliff is usually a pretty reliable sort of quiet guy.
The first hit at 6:30 Eastern, he answered our questions. The second one kind of answered them, but they were doing chants. And as you just heard there, he never responded.
I'm not sure
he said.
We don't know he's not in jail.
We don't even know if he was even holding the phone or on the ground. We have no clue. So Bubba, let's do it.
All right, let's go. LeBron James will outlast Isaiah Thomas in Cleveland. Love it or shove it?
Bubba, that is a great question. I don't think Isaiah Thomas is going to get traded. And while I don't want LeBron to leave, I still think he may leave. But I don't think Isaiah Thomas is going to be around. Cleveland is not maxing this guy out. There's no way that's happening over the summer. So you know what? You said LeBron will outlast. I'm going to say I love it. LeBron will outlast Isaiah Thomas.
Well, this is where we get to have our first disagreement. Love or shove it, by the way, brought to you by Grainger. And I'm shoving it because here's the thing. You're right. They're not going to max out Isaiah Thomas. Nobody's going to max out Isaiah Thomas. I think he's playing so poorly right now, and there's so much of a question mark around his injury concern that nobody's going to give him the value he wants, which raises the odds that he's there longer. And besides, I'm still waiting for the blockbuster moment today when we find out LeBron got traded.
Oh, stop it.
Just because we're working together again tomorrow, and I would love to see what the world of Mike Golick looks like when you got to come in and analyze the trade of LeBron James.
All right, Bubba.
Oklahoma City has the best chance to beat Golden State in the playoffs. Love it or shove it?
I think I'm going to shove that and still say the Houston Rockets. Now, Oklahoma City, I should say, and Houston, they've had success against Golden State. I still think Golden State will be the heavy favorites going into it, but they have been more vulnerable this year than the last couple of years, no doubt about that, but you're still asking a team to beat them 4 times in a 7-game series. But I think Houston has more of the ability to do that in a 7-game series than Oklahoma City does.
Yeah, I think that neither of them necessarily has the size that wears Golden State down, but if you're asking me who can reliably score and continue to score and then score some more, that's Houston at this point. So I absolutely shove it that Oklahoma City has the best chance.
The Patriots and Colts are rivals. Love it or shove it?
Again, Colts GM Chris Ballard had a presser yesterday saying, hey, Josh McDaniels didn't want to be here. That's fine. The Patriots, they're doing their thing. And right at the end, after a pause, it seemed so out of place, he said, the rivalry is back on. As I said, the only way I'd say this is a rivalry is if a hammer and a nail have a rivalry. And the last I checked, they don't. The nail gets hit a lot more, obviously, than the hammer. So, the Patriots and Colts are rivals. I would shove that and say, no, they are not.
Not only would I shove it, the Colts' concern right now should be how they don't end up in the basement of the AFC South for the next several years. They are not as good right now today as the Colts, as the Titans, the Texans, or the Jags. They're worried about being in last place in the South, not worried about competing with the Patriots. Good Lord.
The Eagles should trade Nick Foles. Love it or shove it?
Another good one. Because you would just sit there. There's two sides of it to say, man, if they get the right price, trade him. And the other side is, we don't even know if Carson Wentz, you think he's supposed to be ready for some of training camp, but will he be ready for the regular season? And how long until he's like what he was last year? So until that happens, how great would it be to have Nick Foles there? Does somebody offer you a first and a third for Nick Foles? Does it go that high? I have no idea. But we had Bill Polian in here, and he said, man, absolutely ask for the moon. And if not, then you hang on to him. He's not, both of them together, Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, are only costing you about $15 million together of the cap. So money's not the issue. It's just a matter of what you could get for Nick if you trade him. The end of the day, I would say they're going to hang on to him. So the Eagles should trade him. I'll say shove that. Even though if the right price comes along, they'll do it.
I don't think there's a right price. I think you shove this all the way back to the drawing board. Because,
first and a third?
No, I don't do it. And I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. One, when you're in the window where you can win a championship, you go win that championship. It's not about the future. It's not about rolling the dice in the draft. It's about right now. And today, because we don't know what Carson Wentz's future is, I need Nick Foles if I'm the Eagles. Not only that, but if Carson Wentz, it's not even about the regular season. Are they just going to go through training camp with essentially a nobody at quarterback? Like, what's that going to do for them? Having somebody through practices in camp that they can rely on as a quarterback will keep the rhythm and the sync of the team better. It puts you in a better situation to actually find a way to repeat.
Cleveland Browns call first, second, and third their number 4 pick as the first, second, and third. Just making stuff up now. Yeah. I don't even know if they have a second. Cleveland has a ton of picks, so just ton of picks that include the 4th pick in the draft. Not their first pick, but the 4th pick in the draft.
I shove it.
All right.
I shove it.
Just wondering.
I know.
Fun phone call to take anyway. Okay, Bubba.
Duke, North Carolina is the best rivalry in sports. Love it or shove it?
Man, I mean, I know you get an argument, obviously, Auburn, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. Some will say, Notre Dame, USC, but I don't think Notre Dame, USC is like those other ones, even though I think it's a great rivalry. It's tough to, I think enough people could make an argument for that, right?
Yeah.
I especially the amount of times you could meet twice in the regular season. You could certainly meet in the conference tournament, and you could certainly meet in the NCAA tournament as well. So I don't think I have any problem loving that and saying that is the best rivalry. There are other great rivalries out there, and as I said, people are going to start screaming about theirs, but overall, I would have a tough time arguing that. I could say I love it.
I think it's tough to find a rivalry that is as balanced as theirs is. We've been talking about all morning, 50 to 50 in the last 100, separated by 2 total points. That's such a balance. And when you think about it, it's number 9 versus number 21. If it was just number 9 insert name versus number 21 insert name, would we even be talking about it?
We'd say, okay, it's a rank matchup, okay, but Duke, North Carolina.
Duke, North Carolina transcends, and it transcends whether you're a fan or not. So I would love it. I think it's the best rivalry.
All right, Bubba.
Curling is the best winter Olympic sport. Love it or shove it.
Love it. I mean, I do love, listen, I probably I love watching the downhill, how crazy that can be. You know, so many of these sports, there's that thrill of, oh my God, what if something goes wrong? Because let's be honest, a lot of people when they watch NASCAR, they don't want to see anybody get hurt, but they like when there's a crash. You have the ski jumping, you have the downhill, you have the luge, the skeleton, the bobsled, all that could be ripe for, that crash. Curling, you don't have any of that. The only thing I'd add to curling is I say the guy who's pushing the stone has to have a beer in the other hand to balance it off. I think would be pretty cool. But I do enjoy.
How can you be the best Olympic sport while you've got a beer in one hand doing it?
How awesome is that?
Oh, I mean,
obviously you shoved this one.
Oh man, I crumpled up my paper and threw it in disgust. Bubba didn't see it.
Yours figure skating.
Figure skating.
Your favorite one is the event that can be so. Fixed is a horrible word to say, but I mean, it's judged on by others.
Yeah, well, maybe what we should do is hold it to the same standard we hold college football, where they allow a random group of people to decide who the best are there.
I mean, that's the only one, and the other ones is how fast you go down the hill, how fast you go down the chute, where is your stone in curling? Where does it end up on the big looking shuffleboard target? And figure skating, you got to sit there and wait until some judges from different countries and God knows what's happened to them on why they give their score.
Ultimately, curling not even a top 5 Winter Olympic sport. I mean, you've got snowboarding where they do like the half pipe and they do all the little flip turny thingies.
Yeah.
Then you got like the ski jump where they're doing all that with their legs. All that happening. Those are all far more exciting than watching a guy who you wish was holding a beer broom a little disc along the ice.
All right, it's the last show you're doing here.
Oh, well, that's a fair point. Did I mention that curling, my favorite winter sport?
Thought you might change your mind.
I don't know if you guys heard that. That's Love It or Shove It.
Thanks, Bubba.
Brought to you by Grainger, the products and services you need when you need them. Grainger's got your back to help you keep your facility running. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. Coming up.
Grainger.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A Fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Jason Fitz in for Trey, and Mike has the most staggering stat you're going to hear.
We had Jason Kelsey on from the Eagles a little earlier. Their center, they're all everything center this year. We'll replay some of that. This from Darren Ravel. There are 850 porta potties along the Eagles parade route. So now he said of 3 million, but they expect 2 million. So I put it down to 2 million. If 2 million people show up, that's one porta potty for every 2,352 people.
Nope.
That's not good odds right there. A whole lot of people are going to be doing what my son keeps talking about. He's done at concerts and on the football field, and that's pee their pants.
Is it? Those are our only 2 options? 2,300 people share a porta potty. Like, whatever happened to going into a store and buying something, even if you didn't want it, just so you can use.
There are taverns along the way, so obviously there'll be bathrooms in there as well. But that's just a fun fact right there.
I mean,
if there were only porta potties,
the bathroom line along the way, and then the porta potty experience, which in and of itself, believe me, especially all the years I toured, it's crazy how terrible the bathroom situation is in so many places. Then you've got this awkward moment where you've been waiting outside the porta potty for a very long time. You don't want to go in after that.
What happens when you're on stage doing your show and you have to go to the bathroom?
You learn to time it so that you don't. I mean, you don't have a lot of options. I have once gone, and this was before I was with the Perrys. I have once run off stage and had to relieve myself in a bucket in a semi on the side of the stage. That's the best. That's the worst for me.
That's it, huh?
I've had to do that, but you learn to. But it still is part of my nature. Like if I go to the movies, right before the movies start, I always run to a bathroom and pee.
Right.
Even though I'm not going to have to pee, like even though I can make it.
Right, I'm with you.
It's right before a show. I always had to go. Just safety.
Try and get in the front of the line of these porta potties. 850 of them. That's all you got.
Oh, good Lord.
Wow.
We spoke to Eagles center Jason Kelce. You mentioned it earlier. I asked him if it's sunk in yet that he's a Super Bowl champ. This is what he said.
Oh man, it's definitely starting to sink in. I'm at this parade right now, which is why I'm so behind today. But it's been a pretty special last few days. And the entire city of Philadelphia lets you know every single day, so it's been pretty awesome.
You know, there are moments, Jason, as in a game that, you know, those 5 or 6 moments in a game, either plays or situations that really define a game. And I was wondering, were you guys leading that whole game, and then it came to a point in the fourth quarter where you're down 33-32. If you could take us to that moment and what the talk was on the offensive side in your huddle when you had first lost that lead and now had to play from behind.
You know, there wasn't really like a huge rah-rah moment, to tell you the truth. There was just, you know, Jason Peters pulled everybody aside right before we went out, you know, for the offensive drive, and just kind of told us, you know, just to keep doing what you're doing. You guys are killing them. They can't stop us. Because at that point, their defense, I think we'd only punted one time in the game. So, you know, we were really confident that we were going to be able to move the ball down the floor. And, you know, we didn't want to change anything up because, you know, once you start changing stuff and once you start, you know, adjusting what you're doing, especially when what you're doing is already working, we didn't want to do anything like that.
So, Jason, tell me a little bit about adrenaline when you're facing 4th and goal from a player standpoint. You know you've got a pass call that's going to go to Foles. What's that moment for you as a player?
Oh man, we were ecstatic when that play came in. I don't think a single guy in that huddle was hesitant. Everybody, like, it was almost like it was like a shot of adrenaline the moment they called that play, and everybody was fired up. We got up to the line. You know, in the back of my head, I was like, this is definitely going to work. There's no way on the 4th down they're not going to be aggressive and lose track of Nick. And like, I was like, this is 100%. I thought this was a touchdown.
So, Jason, the parade today, what's you guys ready to go? What's the thought process? I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. They're expecting 2 million people. I don't even know what to ask about this or what you could expect with this.
Oh man, I don't know what to expect either. I'm just going at it with an open mind. I'm super pumped up about it. You know, I think that the guys in this room and the guys in the locker room are all really excited to see the show go on today. I mean, it's going to be a pretty special one.
Again, that's Jason Kelce, the Super Bowl winning team, Philadelphia Eagles. He's their center. And understand about Jason Kelce, when you talk about offensive linemen in the NFL, you're talking about these big, large, 300-pound-plus dudes. Jason Kelce is one of the more undersized offensive linemen and centers in the league. I would bet, and a lot of times you lose weight during that season. It's just tough to keep up with everything. By that Super Bowl, 270, 275 maybe. And for an offensive lineman, that's crazy. But this dude is as tough as they come. Great technique. It's at a second level, obviously moves extremely well. And he graded out as the top center, one of the top linemen, and top center for sure in the league by grading standpoint, was an all-pro this year and an anchor on a line that lost a great player in Jason Peters. So, and oh, by the way, he's a bit of a nutcase as well. I mean, from a personality-wise, and anchor of that line, a line that was considered by many one of the best in the league this year, and they get to enjoy the fruits of their labor in a little bit of time going through the streets of Philadelphia.
You obviously had a successful NFL career. I know you didn't win a Super Bowl, but one of the things that really struck me in listening back to that is sort of his retrospective, man, it's just starting to sink in. When do you think for most of these guys it really does sink in? The level of success achieved when you've worked your whole life for that moment, I mean, you want to let that high last as long as it can, but when does it actually set in?
I'm not sure when it sets in, but I think the interesting thing to me is when do you move on? You know, because now the off season's longer. And when I was playing, you started your off season program in early March. And when you get to that point, it's like, okay, boom, new year, let's go forward. Now it's not till like the third week in April, so they have a lot of time to really soak this in, because I guarantee you when they go back to camp, there'll be the off-season program. Hey, how you doing? Have a great off-season. Okay, last year, over, end of it. We move forward to this year. So they have plenty of time to enjoy it, whether I'm sure that a lot of them will go on vacation to places, and they will enjoy it. They'll go on the speaking circuit and enjoy it. Some may write a book about it and enjoy it. So, but I'd imagine as you get further into the off season, you start to turn that page as your body and your mind knows you have to start getting ready for the next season.
Frankly, I want them to enjoy it as long as possible. When you work your whole life for that objective, I mean, I think they've earned that and they deserve it. So you've heard the news. Obviously, Josh McDaniels is staying in New England. And one of the key pieces, it turns out, according to our very own Mike Reese, one of the things that seems like it's been part of the reason McDaniels wants to stay is because he's going to be mentored in this process. So we have a little bit of the opportunity here to see what that mentoring would actually be like from our very own Jerry. Jerry on our staff took a crash course on Belichick's mentorship program. This is what it was like for Jerry.
Coach Belichick, I really appreciate you taking the time to give me kind of a little demo mentoring session here on this Thursday. I really appreciate it.
Today's Friday.
It's Thursday, Coach.
It is what it is.
All right. Well, in light of the reports that Josh is staying so you can give him a more in-depth mentoring, what's the first new thing you'll teach him?
Really, stats are for losers. Final scores for winners. And that's really what it's about.
That would have helped Sunday. What's the most useful piece of technology in coaching today?
Snap face there.
Very useful. Can you talk a little bit about your game plan for when you face Chris Ballard and Indy and the Colts next season?
I don't know. He'll do what he can do. And he's a tough guy. We all know that. I'm not talking about open heart surgery here.
Tell that to Matt Patricia. With him potentially leaving football for acting, can you give me an impression of what movie role you think Gronk could make better?
What's up?
All right, thanks for the crash course, Coach.
Wow. There we go. The crash course in mentoring.
I think Jerry's headed to Indy now to take the Colts job. He knows it all. He's got it figured out.
It's going to be really interesting in New England, a team that always circles the wagons and are all seem to be together from the Malcolm Butler thing with current players like Dante Hightower and Tom Brady kind of, answering in Instagram in support of Butler and we're behind you as a teammate and love you and that whole thing, and him being benched in that, and us really, but not really getting to the bottom of that. And now the whole coach's situation of Josh McDaniels going back and not, from what we hear, no assurances that he'll be the next head coach, but signs may point to that if he's there when Bill Belichick leaves. We've seen that. Bill Polian was in here and said he's done that a couple times. They've done that in the organization and it worked a couple of times. We've seen other situations, maybe like at Syracuse with Jim Boeheim, where it hasn't so much as far as the successor coming up. So we'll see where this goes. It's security for his family to be in New England for a long time. 4 kids, all I think middle school age and younger, to be in one spot for a while, which is a rarity for a coach. But, I know you mentioned this yesterday and others have as well. Tony Dungy certainly did, about how this hurt you going forward. If somebody else wanting you as a head coach, of trusting you and those assistants that you try and hire.
It certainly feels like McDaniels loses more in this than the Patriots do. I mean, there's a point where even if McDaniels had left, just somebody would have replaced him. The fact that McDaniels has sort of leveraged everything on this Patriots piece, he definitely put team ahead of self, which is something we're used to from the Patriots, but it's not something we've seen the last couple of months. It's something that we see cracking. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Speaking of interesting, it's trade deadline in the NBA. We're interested to see how that plays out. So I had an infatuation with working cartoon themes into solos whenever I could on stage. So I don't know, sometime in my 20s, I decided I was going to work in as much as I could.
Are you a guy that need music, play by ear, hear something and you got it, or?
Both. I can read. You have to be able to read music.
Oh, no, I know you can read. I wasn't insinuating you couldn't read.
I relied on my ear even as a kid. So, in fact, I was already at Juilliard when my teacher discovered that I would get recordings as a kid and I would go to sleep with them on of classical concertos and I was playing a note wrong and he was like, hey, that note is wrong. And I argued with him and I was like, no, it's not. And it turns out that the recording had the note wrong and I had just I relied so much on my ear as a kid that.
You were 10 telling
your. That was probably in my early teens.
All right. Your early teens telling your Juilliard teacher that he or she was wrong and you were right. And it turns out you were right.
No, I was wrong.
Oh, you were wrong.
I was wrong because the recording was wrong. So I was relying so much on my ear that I wasn't actually doing the reading that I needed to do. So, it's always been a combination of the two.
I think one of the other interesting things you had said, again, Jason Fitz, for those that may not know, played for years as a fiddle player in the band Perry, toured with them, and then stopped doing it and loves radio or loves sports and was doing here, working in Nashville, and then have moved here and doing you and Sarah Spain doing a show, and you obviously filling in here doing a fantastic job. But this is a true passion for you to do sports. But that you had said you listened to classic rock guitar solos and learned those on the fiddle.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
The first real I want to learn improv thing that I probably ever learned was the Hotel California guitar solos. That was
really
that was the thing for me for a long time. So that was. Which maybe we'll bust that out at some point.
Oh, yeah. Listen.
We'll just throw everything in.
The more you play, the better off we all are because it sounds really cool and we all wish we could do it.
Well, whatever keeps me getting to sit next to you in the mornings makes me a happy man, Mike.
Well, there we go. We like that. We'll finish up on a couple of things that we had. A quick update on the trades, and there really isn't a ton going on. Again, it goes till 3 o'clock today. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Clippers still talking about DeAndre Jordan, maybe a third team involved in that. Denver looking to maybe acquire Tyreek Evans from Memphis. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on with all of that. But a couple of questions we had out there with Gronk considering retiring from football. And one of the reasons maybe to go into acting. We have asked you today, what movie do you think Gronk would have made better? Robert says Wedding Crashers.
Oh, I could take that, yeah.
Be interesting. This is a perfect one. Keith Braveheart. Him being one of the Warriors in Braveheart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been really good.
I don't know why we keep relegating him to a supporting role, though. What part of Gronk seems like he'd be happy being the second guy in a movie? I mean, I think that Gronk is sort of the star in that process. That's more my thought.
Well, that's what I would think of him being the star in some of this. A lot of people have him kind of in an ensemble cast, but once he could be a star, it would be interesting. Golick and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. Protecting your small business is a big deal. Cover what you've worked for so hard for. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com.
So, by the way, you don't want to miss today. Sorry, the NBA, the Jump NBA trade deadline show presented by Kia today at 1:30 on ESPN and the ESPN app. Well, they'll get you updated on
Seems
all the
different, though, this year, doesn't it? It doesn't seem like we're looking at anything earth-shattering.
No, when we're talking about George Hill as sort of a viable, oh my gosh, maybe the Cavs acquired George Hill, somebody that is near the bottom in defensive efficiency as a player, and somebody that's kind of a little old and shoots really well from behind the arc, which is exactly what the Cavs already are. They shoot well behind the arc. Yeah. They're a little old, and they don't play any defense.
So maybe it would fit right in.
Yeah, it'd fit in, but to what end? It's
another one. But if they get DeAndre Jordan, will be interesting.
Yeah.
With him, if they were to acquire him. But I think going forward, I think basically the teams kind of are where they are right now. It seems to be a different vibe between last year when those Midland players were getting $12-14 million a year, a guy like Lou Williams, and Lou Williams accepts a 3-year extension at $8 million per. Now, as Woj said, he maybe could have held out for a little more in the summer, but he took that $8 million. So, he's a guy still, though, with that deal. Man, it's a good deal to trade for because it ain't a ton of money out there.
Well, and if the Clippers stay pat, I think people are going to start sort of raising an eyebrow and saying, okay, what's going on there right now? That's the one thing we're going to see teams dig in. The Lakers are going to have to make a decision on whether or not they're going to sort of go all in. The Clippers are going to have to make some decisions, and we're going to see where this standoff between the Cavs and LeBron ends up today. I mean, if they do nothing, that's a statement in and of itself.
Yeah, it really is. And one of the more interesting things is the Lakers, though, kind of pushing their whole thought process a whole nother year. So
yeah, and they asked everybody to buy in on it before. So it'll be interesting. Tomorrow we'll go live to
Pyeongchang
and talk to a few members of the Eagles fresh off their championship parade. That's all coming up. Golick and Wingo.